Oh, Christ. Well, yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi is here, and it's, well, quite divisive, I think it's fair to say. On the one hand, a lot of people love it and the way it expands on The Force Awakens and pushes its characters and its story in brave new directions, and on the other hand, a lot of people think it's a bit of a mess. Me? I can't really decide yet. What I can do, though, as objectively as possible, is go through all the major points of the film and assign them the entirely unproblematic binary sort of up or down, and we'll see what we're left with at the end. I'm Adam from Whatculture.com, and in the immortal words of pretty much every character, I've got a bad feeling about this. Now, first things first, The Last Jedi is a visual masterpiece. That should go without saying for a film which had a budget north of $200 million, but as we've seen many times in the past, Hobbit, that's not always the case. But thanks to director Rian Johnson and longtime collaborator Steve Yedlin, there are some absolutely stunning moments of cinematography in this film, all of which leave an indelible image upon you when you're sitting there watching them. The use of the red and white colour palette on Crate, the overall look and feel to Snoke's throne room, it's all gorgeous, it's dynamic, it's visceral, but it's still elegant as well, you might say, and it all meshes so perfectly with John Williams' score. Well done to everybody involved in that. But it wasn't all jelly and ice cream, was it? After John Boyega's near show-stealing performance in The Force Awakens, we start The Last Jedi with the information that he just wants to run away now. Like, I get he was never totally sure of his place in the whole war thing, but he's just going to abandon the Resistance and abandon Poe and abandon BB-8? Really? Now, changing the direction of the character is in of itself not necessarily a bad thing, but what he gets instead is a very convoluted and ultimately pointless, hokey side quest to a casino to go get a codebreaker, because apparently there's no other way to open a door. Even though in pretty much every Star Wars film, we see droids overriding doors. Bad, 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 down, 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 down. That's a shame as well, because Star Wars is often at its best when it takes a main character and throws them away from the main narrative. Best example, of course, being Luke in Empire Strikes Back. And of course, he returns to the screen fully in The Last Jedi, and while his return is not perfect, it's still very, very, very special. As was suggested in the marketing, this is not the Luke Skywalker we grew up with. The idealistic young farm boy is long since gone, and replacing him is an old man who is crippled by the burden of his mistakes and the fear of repeating them. It's to change, it's different. A lot of people might not like it, but it gives the character incredible, incredible depth, and fair play to Mark Hamill for getting that across. In isolation, Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi is a huge up. So too is Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, but admittedly we got enough of her in The Force Awakens to know going in that she was going to be exceptional in this. That said, there was one tiny Mary Poppins in space moment that I did ask for all your help with, and while I'm not going to give it a down because of that, it is nice to see you all agree with it. Most of my screen burst out laughing at that, so there you go. It's not just old faces in The Last Jedi though, and we're actually introduced to 3 brand new, very prominent new characters in the shape of Admiral Holdo, Rose Tico, and the mysteriously named DJ. They are a mixed bag. First off, we have Rose, who is effectively the audience's entry point into the story. She is played really well with vulnerability and courage by Kelly Marie Tran, and while I think the story involving her is a bit of a misstep, her portrayal is absolutely outstanding, so no complaints there. DJ, on the other hand, is not proving as popular with audiences, it seems. He's not the man they originally set out to get, and his betrayal is so easily telegraphed that it makes you wonder what the point in casting someone as high profile as Del Toro was for all that. It's a waste of a role, in my opinion. But Laura Dern's Admiral Holden is, Jesus goddamn H Christ, an absolute powerhouse. People finally seem to be accepting Dern as one of the most iconic actors of her generation. Just look at the hair, for Christ's sake, and I'm really hoping that this is the mainstream role that cements her at the top of the industry. I'm going to score that 2-1 to new faces, so an up overall. That's what sequels do though, they introduce us to new and exciting characters, but they also have another trope, which is they take the interesting and exciting questions from the first film and they either expand or resolve them in a satisfying way. Not The Last Jedi though. Rian Johnson basically took a big list of all the major issues from The Force Awakens, scrunched it up in a ball and went, nah, that. It's not an out and out negative that, and I'll get to why in a little bit, but by and large, all the major issues we had hanging over from The Force Awakens were discarded as quickly and unspectacularly as they could be. All that stuff about Snoke, his origins, where he came from, what his plan was, gone. Who are Rey's parents? Is she a Kenobi? Is she a Skywalker? Gone. Kylo Ren, can he be brought back to the light side, or is his soul lost for good? Gone. Now, it's brave filmmaking, that, but it's disappointed quite a lot of people, so I'm going to have to give it the old down. No better example of that than Luke's first words. I mean, we'd spent 2 years wondering what he was going to say to Rey when he saw her holding out the lightsaber, and he just grabs it and chucks it off a cliff, which pretty much sums up the film's entire attitude towards The Force Awakens. Now, cards on the table, I actually really admire Rian Johnson for having the balls to do all that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it worked. In fact, a lot of people left the cinema wondering what it was they'd actually witnessed because the central narrative suffered so much as a result. The film is supposed to be about hope and how the Resistance are going to inspire the rest of the galaxy to rise up against the First Order. Yeah, we get that, we understand that now, but instead, what we actually get is the same set piece repeated 3 times. The bad guys think they finally caught up to our heroes, but they, in the end, managed to overcome the big scary weapon and escape. Not exactly inspiring stuff. The destruction of Starkiller Base, which you'd think would be a pretty big deal, appears to have had precisely 0 impact on the rest of the galaxy. That plus Finn's baffling subplot, Luke isolating himself because the Jedi need to end, and then just changing his mind and deciding Rey's worth a shot after all. It's all just bad writing, and it really, really pains me to say that. And also, but where the story falls down, the progression of the new trilogy's 2 central characters absolutely excelled. Between Kylo Ren and Rey, it now feels like they're the 2 main pillars in the entire Star Wars universe. In fact, it's almost worth all the problems with the story to shift the focus so dramatically onto these 2. Look, I know Daisy Ridley's had a bit of criticism for her performance as Rey, but come on, she's absolutely perfect in this role. She's perfect for Star Wars. I mean, it's never been a franchise that's been single-handedly dragged along by the strength of the performance of its central character. It's always needed that endearingly clunky portrayal that Mark Hamill originally delivered in the first few films, and honestly, she gives us that in spades. But Adam Driver, wow. I mean, we've talked about this in the office today, whether or not it's possible for somebody in a Star Wars film to receive an Academy Award, but if it is, he's got to be in with a shout for Best Supporting Actor. Surely. I mean, his constant turmoil between the dark and the light, his downward spiral into being the film's chief antagonist. I know it's come like one film too soon for a lot of people, but dear God, is it a sight to behold. He's the biggest up of the entire film for me. And it's that performance which leads us into the strongest scene in the entire film, in my humble opinion, when Kylo turns on his master, kills Snoke, saves Rey, and the pair of them set about wiping out the Praetorian Guards. It is stunningly choreographed piece of cinema, and it could so easily have been the culmination of the trilogy itself. Now, Snoke's sudden death is one of the things I'm talking about when I say they pretty much have ignored The Force Awakens, and I'm personally a bit disappointed we're not going to explore the character and find out more about him, but if that's the price we have to pay to set up Kylo as the main thing going into the final film, then fine, that scene is enough, and all its consequences are too. What's not fine though, and yeah, okay, I get this is Star Wars and it's probably the kind of film where you should put this stuff to one side and just enjoy what it is you're seeing, and I did try to do that, I swear, but there are so many glaring and repeated leaps in logic that it just became really hard to lose yourself. Why didn't Holdo simply tell Poe about the plan from the start? Why didn't you tell him when he had a gun to her head? It could have saved everybody a little bit of bother. Why didn't the First Order simply intercept the Resistance with another ship travelling in the opposite direction? Why did they go all the way out there to get a code breaker when we've seen so many droids unlock doors in the past? Well, if that is indeed the most secure door in the galaxy, why is it just being used to protect a sensor that the Resistance didn't even know about as far as the First Order were concerned? Why did Rose stop Finn from saving everybody's life when at the time it was literally the only plan they had? How the hell did Finn get her body back into the base when there was a literal army immediately outside of it? Is Rey's training only taking place over 2 days, or is the timeline different? I have so many. Why was Kylo Ren topless? There's just so many things hanging over when you leave that screening. You've automatically got to give it a down, and just I mean Puppet Yoda's pretty good, I guess. Anyway, yes, sorry if you hate me now. I hate me too, if that helps at all. I didn't want it to be this way. I really wanted to love this film. I wanted to give this an 8-1 like James did in his article, which you absolutely should read, by the way. But yeah, this is where I am. And this is where a lot of other people are as well. I mean, of all the horrors of 2017, ending it with an underwhelming Star Wars film pretty much fits, I think. But of course, as ever, I'm far more interested to know what you thought, so please do leave us a comment below. Did you absolutely love it? If so, please tell me how. Or did you feel ever so slightly let down by the whole thing? I'm not having any of this death of the franchise rubbish, by the way. If that's what you think, have a long word with yourself. Anyway, until next time, I've been Adam from Whatculture.com, and may the Force be with us, always.